Well, it's great to be here at WCN. I think this is a long time that we've been doing this, and thank you all for staying this evening to listen to my talk about cheetahs. Of course, I think they're the most wonderful animal there is on the face of the earth, but after spending over 40 years understanding them, working with them, and trying to save them, I scratch my head and go, why cheetahs? Other than they are the fastest of all the land animals, and everything about them is built for speed, and they're just so amazing. And I think it was the eyes that got me originally. Just looking at those eyes, and they look through you and beyond you and take you into, I think, a life that they took me into. They're past, they've been on Earth for millions, one of the longest of all of the cats and one of the oldest mammals. And they're one and the most unique of all the 37 species of cats. From that, though, they are Africa's most endangered of all of the cats. How did I end up in this? Well, I used to live here in California, and I raised horses, and I had dogs, and I had goats. Dogs are still a really important part of my life, and the rare breeds, Anatolian Shepherd that's here is representative of one of the dogs that we now use to help save goats, which are also a part of my life now very actively. Back in America here, a long, long time ago, I actually used to be a goat judge. So I would travel around the country and I'd judge goats. At the same time, I was running a wildlife park in Oregon when I moved from California, and that's what got me involved in cheetahs. I started there in the early 70s. Nobody knew anything about cheetahs, and I was one of the few places in the few facilities that was breeding cheetahs in captivity. And at that point in time, a cheetah that I raised from a young cub named Kayam took me over to Namibia to do a first-of-its-kind research project to find out if a captive-born cheetah could go back out in the wild and learn how to hunt. Well, I ended up there with a cat that I'd hand-raised, and I found that farmers hated cheetahs. They were catching them, they were killing them, and they said to me, "Cheetahs, we hate them. Who are you? You're crazy. You're a girl from California." Well, Kayam got into the hearts of the farmers. Kayam was such a very special animal. Her birthday was the 4th of December, which is today International Cheetah Day. So on the 4th of December, please everybody celebrate International Cheetah Day. Well, I learned from the farmers, and Kayam, always have said, gave me a vision and showed me the path. She showed me that I needed to go back over to Namibia and actually work with the farmers. And so I followed her vision, I guess, understanding her species and then continually studying them more and more. I knew that we needed to do something to stop the farmers from killing the cheetahs. I'd like to give you an idea of what the distribution, though, of cheetahs looks like. And we've had a former range of cheetahs. We've lost about 80% of their former range is now gone. And the populations today are very, very fragmented. There's only about 7,000 cheetahs left. There are 31 pocketed populations. So we've got fragmented populations, and these are where those populations are now found. The blue are where the numbers are within them. And 50% of the cheetah populations are in southern Africa. So from Namibia to Botswana, but the numbers are still very, very low. There's only about 40 to 70 cheetahs up in Iran, and that's the last of the Asian cheetah populations. 20 of those 31 populations are less than 100 animals, so the numbers are very, very low. They're fragmented, and this is what's causing us a lot of worry. 76% of them are found outside of protected areas. That means we have to work with the farming community, the people on whose land the cheetahs are living, their livestock are living, and oftentimes, we hope, there's still wildlife living in these areas. But the issues facing cheetahs are very, very complex. So we've got fragmented landscapes, habitat loss, human-wildlife conflict. There are social issues. The people we're dealing with are very, very poor. And so one loss of their livestock is really extreme. We've got illegal wildlife trafficking that's causing a very big problem that I'll talk more about. The cheetahs lack genetic diversity to such an extent that we have about 80% abnormal sperm in every male cheetah. and that reduces their adaptations, and we're actually looking at a reduced effective breeding size. And this actually is leading to this, what we call a vortex towards extinction. We need to stop that. We've worked at it for years, but I just have to let you know that it's getting more extreme and we need more help. So I founded the Cheetah Conservation Fund in 1990, and I moved to Namibia, which is where the last large remaining population of cheetahs is. We're the leading organization dealing with cheetahs. We deal with all cheetah organizations everywhere. So I've raised many kids. We've raised CC Botswana. We've raised the Cheetahs for Action for Cheetahs in Kenya and the Masai Mara Cheetah Project. We've got partners up in Algeria and in Ethiopia and Iran. So we're kind of like the mom. I am the mom, I guess. They call me the mother of all cheetahs. I don't know where that came from, but we work throughout the entire cheetahs range, but I'm based in Namibia, where we've got a very great research center. We're based on about 100,000 acres of land, and we deal with an entire ecosystem in the work that we do. So we're a working ranch, and we work with a lot of different animals. We're a sanctuary as well. So I just need to let you know that we do have orphan cheetahs that are there. Right now we've got 39. We've got a veterinary clinic, a genetics lab, training facility. We've got goats. I've got a goat dairy. Our goat dairy name up here, it's called the Dancing Goats. And so our Dancing Goat Creamery is because our goats are protected by dogs, which are saving cheetahs. We have a habitat restoration project where we actually make a fuel log when we're going into biomass energy. But we are a research facility, and we are open, and we welcome people to come and visit us from around the world. I've just come back 2 days ago from South Africa, where I was there for a week at the CITES convention. And this is a convention that goes on every 3 years where all the laws for wildlife programs go forward. And we had a big program there around cheetahs. These are the partners that we worked with, and we're dealing with the illegal wildlife trafficking of cheetahs, which has become a huge problem for the cheetah from the Gulf, the Horn of Africa into the Gulf states. And so to give you an idea of the numbers of cheetahs that are in these areas, you saw the map earlier, we have a very small number of cheetahs that are in the eastern part of Africa. From there, these animals are actually being trafficked, about 300 per year, and they're going into the Gulf states. And so we work very actively with the Horn of Africa, East Africa, and that of the Gulf states to try to curb this trafficking. And so for every one cheetah that actually is captured, many of them from those small populations, probably 5 die. And if they make it into the illegal trafficking, they might not even make it for like a 2-year period of time. They live in small chicken coops, small cages. It's horrible, the issues that we've dealt with. Fortunately, we've been able to actually track a lot of it. A lot of it's on the social media. And from this, we see about 1,000 cheetahs a year that are going through the social media, and we're trying to curb that as well. But to give you an idea of the kinds of graphic regions that we see these animals coming from, they're coming from the Horn of Africa, East Africa, and they're primarily going into the Gulf states. And out of it, we've worked with over 1,000 animals, and we've been able to have confiscated over 500 of those. Most of them, though, as I said, don't live very long. But it gives you an idea of the kinds of issues that we are actually dealing with. At COP17, which is called, there were these recommendations that came forward, and the decisions that came forward were important. We talked about the reducing the demand and using public awareness, which was seen very favorably by everybody. And then looking at the cooperation and information exchange. And so we talked about developing a cheetah forum, and that was bringing together governments from, again, the Horn of Africa and that of the Gulf states to work together to try to curb what was going on. And the enforcement, where are these animals coming from, and how are they actually getting trafficked through this route into Yemen and into the UAE and Saudi Arabia. And how are they then being disposed of these wild animals? There's now like over, they say, 1,500 animals sitting in illegal households in the Middle East. And they're now, the governments are talking about confiscating them. Where are those animals going to go and what's going to happen to them? So we've now looked at trying to come up with what's called a cheetah trade resource kit, where we're looking at DNA sampling of the animals. We're trying to get in there, and many of these animals are from very small pocketed populations, to bank the sperm of them, the genes of them, but then where are they going to be housed and how that housing is going to go about. So we also have to stop the e-commerce, and we've also found that places like Facebook and whatever it is, I don't do social media that well, the Instagram, they're now getting behind trying to actually stop the e-commerce. But we were the ones that brought this forward to try to stop this. And it was so exciting because it was a week ago on Thursday, we actually passed it through the COP 17, and it actually, it was unanimous at the vote. And so we went away pretty excited that maybe there's going to be a chance to stop this trafficking for the cheetahs. And then again, identifying where some of these, let us say, 1,500 animals may end up. And so we're going to be looking at sanctuaries as well, and that's going to be a big job. But coming back to my day-to-day work, because it's really looking at trying to keep cheetahs living free and in the wild, and by reducing the conflict with the predators on the farmland with the livestock. However, we do have a sanctuary, and trying to reduce that conflict ends up sometimes with us having orphan animals that come in. And we have 39 orphan animals at our facility at this point in time. And I just, giving you an idea of what some of the costs are, every orphan that we take care of is about $5,000 per year. And we do welcome people to help sponsor a cheetah, and helps reduce some of our costs and gets you engaged in knowing more about some of these animals. Our animals are living in very, very huge areas, 25 acres, 50 acres. They have to be in about 2.5 acres per individual as per our laws in Namibia. So all of our cats are in very large areas, and they're there to live their life if they can't go back out in the wild. We do, though, and are able to rewild some of these cats. This year, just in the last couple months, we just ended up with 5 new cubs. Sadly, we had a mom that was shot on a game farm. That brought 5 cubs into our center. They were about 5 months of age. Heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. The mother was in a game-fenced farm, and if any of you are in southern Africa and know that there are things called game farms, and there's big fences that go up, and they have wildlife that's in there, and if a cheetah or a leopard or a jackal get in, all game farms hate predators because the predators eat their game, which is what they're supposed to eat. So it is a big problem. And so although we've developed a lot of programs that allow us to work with livestock farmers, the game farmers become some of our bigger problem farmers. We find that cheetahs go to marking trees, and we've studied this for years, and we found that they have marking trees or play trees in areas where there's more game. And guess where that is? Oftentimes in the game-fenced farms. And so the cheetahs are going in their marking territories, and we find that those farmers that have trees remove more cheetahs than the farmers where there are no play trees. And so these are, again, very interesting things that we share with the farming communities as well. A little bit about what cheetahs eat. Now, they like prey that is about, 10 to 35 kgs. That's about 20 to 70 pounds. We find that they, males like larger antelope than that of the females. They can catch livestock, which is normal. The livestock would be calves under a month of age usually, goats and sheep, which are primary, perfect size for them. But if you manage your livestock, then the cheetah's not going to get in there and catch your livestock. We've found throughout all of the ranges where the cheetahs live, there's about 71 species that the cheetahs will eat. We have 17 species the cheetah likes to eat best in Namibia. And most of their diet really revolves around that of things like hartebeest, or the kudu, or gemsbok calves. So they'll eat the young, the calves, of these larger antelope. But female cheetahs really like steenbok and duiker, which is a smaller antelope that they can catch very easily. This is our ecology team, and we work very actively to try to understand more about how cheetahs live. We use camera traps, and from these camera traps, we are able to then get a density to understand how many animals are actually out there. So you put them up in a grid to figure out actually where they are. You understand who they are through their different spot patterns, and then you can start coming up with an understanding of actually how many animals are out there. So they live in a very large area in a very low density. I want to show you a video of what a day in the life at a camera trap looks like. And the camera traps sometimes are at these marking trees. And it's kind of fun because everybody's at the tree at any point in time. The males are marking territory, urine and scat. A lot of, oops, that's scat, yep, and we'd go pick it up if we could. Other antelope there. And so a play tree and a marking tree is a very active area for everybody that's there. And then as the cheetahs come and go, they mark these territories, and this is also where most of the farmers will catch cage traps and catch the cheetahs, or set their cage traps and catch the cheetahs. And once the cheetahs are caught, then we do work with the farmers to try to get the animals back out in the wild. We've been able to put over 600 cats back out into the wild. But with that, we've worked on nearly 1,000 cats. We've got lots of samples. We work a lot with understanding diseases, understanding the whole reproductive aspects of the cheetah, and we do a lot of genome resource banking. That means taking things like sperm, tissues, and banking them down in liquid nitrogen. And we've done this in many of the different other range state countries as well, because the sperm of the cheetah, even though it might be up to 80% abnormal, it's very, very valuable for us to understand more about and maintain a population for the future. Cheetahs, as I mentioned early on, are genetically uniform or very, very similar. We started this work back in the early 80s. And last year, in 2015, we actually came out with a paper where we were able to sequence the cheetah's genome. And this is giving us some really good baseline information that we'll be able to understand, and we're studying some of the diseases that affect cheetahs as well. But being genetically similar, it actually causes cheetahs to be at greater risk for some of the environmental and ecological changes, things like climate change and things like low populations and fragmented populations. And that's going to cause them more reduced adaptation and for them in the future as well. I'd really like people to understand how large of a home range cheetahs have. There's 1,600 square kilometers, that's about 800 square miles. I've used this map many times, but it gives an idea of these very, very huge home ranges. Each one of these squares here is about 10,000 acres. And so you just can't buy up all the land, but you have to work with lots and lots of farmers. About 50% of their core area is a small part of their home range, and they do defend that. And male cheetahs will have territoriality, where they will fight each other for that territory as well. And if you do remove cheetahs from those areas, more animals come in. It's like a vacuum. And it sucks them in, and then you end up with only one problem farmer within this area that could actually reduce an entire population. Females cover multiple males, and this is different than most all the other predators. And so all these red are males, and the green and the red here are females. And they cover multiple males. They live in a matriarchal society where it's mother with her cubs within these areas, and you get to know all the different males out there. And the females' areas are oftentimes up to 3,000 square kilometers, so they're covering lots of areas, showing her female cubs where they live. And this is a female cub, a female that we actually rewilded a couple years ago. And I just wanted to give you an idea of kind of what her movements look like through that area that I showed you. Huge area. She covered game farms. She was in cattle farms. In all those 2 years, she never caught livestock. We were going in and following all of her kills. They were mostly steenbok and duiker. Unfortunately, she was killed to a leopard. Hence, we knew that, and we ended up having to bring in her cubs. Her cubs are about a year old, and we are putting her cubs with those 5 cubs together, and we hope in about 2 years we'll be able to put both of those groups back out into the wild. So that's how the last couple months of our time has been in some of the movement and actions of the cheetahs that we're working with. But we do need to look at very large landscapes if we're going to save cheetahs. And in order to do this, that's why we use livestock guarding dogs to help save cats. And this year we'll have had already 50 puppies born. We've placed already in the last 20 years about 600 of the livestock guarding dogs. The Anatolian Shepherd and Kangal dogs are one of the most amazing dogs I know in the world, and I've worked with lots of dogs. And we use them, we place them, they're born out in our goat yard, and we donate them to the farmers, and from that we follow up the care of the dogs, we neuter them, we vaccinate them. We've just brought in a new bloodline puppy, actually, this year, and the puppies that we just had a litter born about a month ago are related to our friends' dogs here from the Rare Breed Ranch. And so we've shared, they've shared sperm with us that we've used to get our dogs pregnant. They are a very rare breed, and with that, trying to maintain the bloodlines of these dogs is also very, very important. We see a very huge reduction in livestock loss by having the dogs with the farmers because they protect the goats, the sheep. They reduce the loss from not only the cheetahs, but to all the other predators as well. Being predator people, it's not about just the cheetah. We like all the predators. We like the leopard. We like the wild dogs. We like caracal and jackal. I like jackal a lot. And most people don't. And what we want is to not have people feed their livestock to the predators because it changes the predator's biology. It's not just reducing the livestock loss. We don't want the livestock to be eaten by the predator because it ruins the predator. So we want to protect the livestock. And the dogs are much smarter than our farmers are everywhere. And so we also, from our work, we've gotten dogs now working up in South Africa very actively, in Tanzania, the Ruwaha Project, and many places working with dogs in livestock and predators in many of the other countries around the world, even here in the United States. So it's kind of exciting to see the work that's gone on here from Namibia. So our conservancies, again, I think are very, very important, and I cannot even tell you how important they are until I continue to travel around the world and work with communities. But our conservancies deal with large lands that are not fenced with wildlife that are integrated. So you can have your livestock in there with wildlife, and predators can be within the system because you're managing your livestock and you have a prey base for your animals. In Namibia, we've got communal conservancies, which are the brown, and we have commercial conservancies, which are spotted in the middle. The green is where our national parks are. And 80% of our wildlife is outside of protected areas. And it's not in big fences, it's outside of it, it's free-ranging. And this graph basically only shows that our wildlife numbers in the 1800s were high, they went down to nothing. But because our wildlife is a very important part of our communities in all of Namibia, our wildlife numbers are increasing. And we are probably the only country in the world that can really talk about increasing wildlife. And with that, it's why we think that we can keep animals like the cheetahs on the land. We work with the Greater Waterberg Landscape, which the Waterberg is a wonderful national park, and it's in our backyard. We're based right here next to it. And in our area, we've got wild dogs, we've got rhinos, of course, cheetahs. This year, and we work with all of the farmers here, there's about 23,000 of them, and we worked on getting them conservancy offices because these guys are living there, they're trying to develop conservancy, and nobody's really helping them. And so I've got a family of 23,000 people, and that's our new office buildings that we just got put up a few weeks ago, and we're pretty excited about this because this community of 23,000 people are the ones that are living with these animals, and they're going to be actually one of the most important groups of people to really help. The past year we worked with about 1,200 farmers on training courses. We were in the same 8 communities monthly, and with that we found it to be very, very successful in working with them. We did pre and post surveys to evaluate how well it was working, and we found that before the workshops, there was about 97% that they had no idea of livestock management practices. And after, we found that about 99% of them, and this is after a year of working with the same 1,200 people, that they had a huge knowledge now about livestock management. And 100% of them said that they would practice what they were taught, and 94% said that the livestock was healthier after we taught them a lot about livestock management. Makes sense. And 70% really said that they developed resources to implement best practice. So those are really important issues. And so habitat's important. We continue with our bush project. Our habitat restoration program has been very, very important. And we continue to look at what this means. So we have a very thickened thorn bush. We harvest it, and we actually make a fuel log, which is called a bush block. And right now we're looking at, in our new plant that we're developing, going into biomass electricity. And in this year, if we can actually get this biomass electricity to work, we can actually fuel our center with biomass, this thick bush that's taken over a lot of our land, clearing more habitat. And with that, we then can go to the next stage, which will be helping our local communities to have electricity using the biomass bush. And I want to point out that we are Forest Stewardship Council certified, which is the highest level of forest protection. We get thousands of school kids yearly. We go out to schools regularly. We love kids. They're our future. We've developed craft training, and a lot of the crafts that we've got out on our table have been developed by these great women, and we're trying now to get our crafts marketed here in the country so that the money from those crafts goes back into the communities. And so you guys are all helping us by buying Christmas gifts, as well as not only us, but all of the other people here, all of the other conservationists. Namibia just set up a new conservation parliament within the country, and I got actually invited to go and help chair the elections. I had no idea why they wanted me, but they said that as a senior conservationist, I had to be there and oversight this. So our government is very active in the work that we're doing. I'm in the process right now of putting together kind of 40 years of cheetah research in a book that should be available next year, and it's called The Cheetah Biology and Conservation, and it's a book series about biodiversity of the world, conservation from genes to landscapes. And I'm going to have about 70 co-authors. It's very excited. I see Mary Wickster in the back from Action for Cheetahs. Rebecca is a part of the book, and all of the cheetah people, we're a very small group of us, but it's going to be the definitive book really about cheetah conservation. So our strategic way forward, expand our program implementation, expand our partners, increase our fundraising capacity, and expand advocacy. We've got to do everything that we can to try to save the cheetahs. And that means we need to expand our organization, and we need your help to do that. We thank you for the help that you have given us, and we welcome you to come and visit us over in Namibia. We take volunteers all the time. Jean was just there as a volunteer with us. You can come and have it like a tour and just, stay at our house. And we've got a guest house, which is called the Babson House. We're right now developing a 5-bedroom little guest house set that you're welcome to come and stay at as well. But we really thank all of you. You are what allows us to try to save cheetahs. And we need more of your help. Please continue to help spread the word. And thank you very much for all that you've done to help us save cheetahs. Thank you.